Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a quick recap video here. We've officially finished the view layer of our application. It has been a lot of code, a lot of fun code in my mind. And in this video, I just want to quickly recap what we have built so far. I know this course is all about advanced architecture, and a lot of you are really waiting for the MVVM and that type of stuff. But I don't want to underestimate the importance of this section of the course, which is getting the UI layer of your app built in a clean and reusable way. Even though we didn't really add data or your traditional architecture or testing yet, we did write a lot of really good, really reusable code. And I think by setting up our app like this, it's going to set us up for the future of the business. So if we need to iterate on the screens, if we need to change out cells, we can now basically build screens incredibly fast. Let's quickly just run through a lot of what we've built just to recap how far we've come so far. So we started the course way back when with this app view section where we literally built an app view builder to switch between the tab bar view and the onboarding view. And we took a little bit of extra time to create this view builder so that we have this generic reusable container that we can now use for any app that we ever create. And it would be really easy to also edit this for a different app. If we want to change the transitions or the logic or something like that, this we can literally just copy and paste into another project, or we can put it in a Swift package, but totally reusable, and it set up the core of our app. We also created a global app state, which is what we're using across the onboarding and the tab bar flows in order to move between the two. We put that into the environment using the observable macro, so that we could access it from both the onboarding flow and the settings screen. After that, we jumped into the onboarding flow. So our onboarding screen has have 3 screens here. I'll pull it up on the simulator quick. Let's sign out. We created a welcome view here. We have our sign in, so users that are existing can sign into their existing account. And then we also created the actual onboarding flow. Our onboarding flow is not that amazing. It's not that cool, but it does set us up for the use case of our apps, because every app's going to have a different onboarding flow, but generally it's going to be a series of screens in which the user is going to make a bunch of selections, they're going to read some things, and then we're going to move into the core application. So here we just have some basic text, and here we have our first thing where our user is making a selection. I'll select the orange. We'll finish the onboarding flow. Notice how the orange selection is staying with the user. And then we added some asynchronous logic into this special button to do some loading and then move us into the actual application. And I think that really is just something that can simulate most applications. Almost every app has onboarding. Almost every app has onboarding where a user is making selections. We save that to the user's profile, and then we put them into the app. When we got to the app screen, we also created some amazing UI components here. If I jump and I look at the carousel view, which is this top view here, we put a lot of work in to make it fully reusable, not just with this cell, but with any content and any hashable type. So I could even take this whole carousel cell now and put this in a Swift package or copy and paste it into another project, and I never have to actually build out this component again. And so it's really easy to use if we decide maybe one day to change what cell we're going to put in here or something like that. We also added some paging onto this scroll view down here, which is a really nice user experience that is relatively new in Swift UI, but I think it looks great. And we made this a lazy stack so that we can add as many categories as we want in the future. We also wrapped up this screen with some rows down here in which we added custom button styles so the user can click on these. From this screen, we included routing to 2 separate screen types. So here we can click and go into the chat screen, and here we can click and go to the category screen. We only have 2 different destinations in our app, but we built our navigation path option with an enum. So it'd be very simple in here to create a third case and then just add a third case here. And now we have basically unlimited routing in our application with just a couple lines of code. We made this a reusable modifier so that we can actually do this routing not just from the Explore screen, but also from the chat screen and from the profile screen. In the chat screen, we added some really cool UI as well. We have a recent section up here in which we can click on the avatar and go into the chats screen. And we edit our chats down here. with this nice cell UI as well. We moved into the profile screen where we reused one of our cells. So you'll notice that this cell, we built it to be fully reusable, and then we reused it again on this screen as well as on our category screen. So we're already getting returns on making reusable components. We added a quick create avatar screen, which the user can then go and add in some content. Maybe I create an avatar called Emily. She's going to be an alien that is maybe shopping in the desert. We can generate an image. Obviously, we haven't connected our AI yet, but we have the logic. Notice that there's asynchronous. We have the loading indicator when the image is generating. We have another loading indicator on save, and then we bounce back to our application. And when we actually create the avatar, that new avatar will populate into this section here. Also notice while I'm here that the profile color is staying with the user that we made in onboarding. Lastly, in the actual chats view, we added a ton of really cool logic that I also think is quite reusable. So firstly, chats are a incredibly common feature of applications, and we learned how to make the chats, how to make the cells, and then we also learned a quick tip on how to invert the entire scroll view so that the chats start at the bottom. We built this really cool UI down here that literally looks like the text field is seamlessly integrated with the tab bar, which I really like. It looks just so smooth, almost like native, something that Apple would build. And then we wrapped up this screen creating some of the coolest modifiers I think that we've built. So we added the show alert modifier. So we created a new type called any app alert, which was a generic app alert. And we added a custom show custom alert view modifier so that we can now add alerts into our app with literally one line of code. This to me is the epitome, the ultimate way of building SwiftUI apps. Fully reusable code where we can build any app alert. It's not coupled to any specific alert. And we can do something like type in a bad word and get an error message. And this error message is coming from our reusable component. We also use that reusable component for the confirmation dialog up here, so we can report or delete the chat. And lastly, we added this gorgeous UI to display the avatar modal. And we built out a custom modal component so that now we can add these modals on basically any screen in our application. So it took us a little bit of extra time to build out these modifiers in this part of the course, but now we can now copy this, move it into any project that we ever built, or copy it and just put it on another screen, and we can literally build incredibly fast. So I think this is where the power of SwiftUI starts to come in, because once you get it set up well and the right way, you can now build these screens faster than most developers with most technologies can build any screens. Honestly, this is really reusable SwiftUI code. This is basically the setup that I use for the view layer of every app that I build these days. I will point out that on the Explore screen, all of these cells that we made here, the carousel cell, the popular cell, these were just based on simple data. So we already had our data model and then we looped on the data model. So we did like a for each. But I purposely also in the chats view, we also added these custom cells here, which have to load in. So it's very common in your apps where you maybe have some of the data, but not all of the data. So for example, on these, we have the chat, but we don't have the avatar or the last message. And we looked at how we can build 2 layers in the cell rather than 1 layer to account for asynchronous data loading. So something like this, where we have a view builder that is handling the asynchronous implementation of this cell. I think that's a really relevant real-world use case. And in order to actually support that, we added some custom redaction, with basically a loading state for these cells, so that they load in nice and smooth and polished and really look like a professional experience. All right, that is the recap of what we built so far. It's been a lot of code, and we now got our views set up. We are ready to rock and roll into the next section of the course, which is going to be basically just adding data behind all of these screens. So we'll set up our remote database, we'll set up all of our data managers, we'll actually load in data, and we'll also mock data. So this way we can maintain using mock data for our previews, using mock data for testing, but also have the ability to switch to our production database and a remote database to get some real data as well. Thank you guys for watching. In the next video, I have a quick quiz for you guys to see if you are paying attention. I think it's relatively easy, but we will find out how you guys do. A quick heads up, I have made it that you need a 70% to mark that as complete. So go ahead and give it your best take. Try not to cheat. See if you are actually understanding and learning some of that information. And I will get the results, so I'll see how you guys did. So good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.